This is a film study focused on Nick Whiteside, the 25-year-old corner who came into the second half of Detroit's 24-9 win over the Tampa Bay Bucs. He didn't just fill in admirably for Rock Ya-Sin, who's a backup outside corner himself, but Whiteside played above his pay grade, matching up with Emeka Egbuka, one of the hottest wide receivers in the NFL in terms of production, yards per catch, and efficiency rating while making big plays. I believe Egbuka came into the game having 5 touchdowns posted already through 6 games, and Whiteside was able to either blanket him multiple times or make up gaps, make up space, separation, if you will, later on in the route. I've got a significant number of plays to show. I really could have focused on Rock Ya-Sin as well, or did a combination video, in fact, because Rock played a great first half. Nick Whiteside, perhaps not as impactful on a play-by-play basis, but timely passes defensed. He's credited for 3 officially. I think it really should be 4, but one of them occurred on the 2-point conversion early in the third quarter. This is one of his first plays on the field early in the third quarter. Rock is out at this point after trying to give it a go, I think, with a leg injury. He's actually not targeted on this particular play. It's a 2nd and 3, but we'll use this as an establishing shot for some of the things that Detroit was doing when they weren't playing their patented 2-man setup pre-snap on third down passing situations. So he's up at the top side of the screen. I think he's matched up with Tez Johnson. Harper, I'll generally try to spot shadow in blue, the safety, and then Robertson down to the bottom side. It's 12 personnel play action. It's kind of like a sluggo route. I'm not really necessarily sure I want to call it a sluggo route, but sometime in this area right here, Emeka Egbuka is going to shake to the outside and just get Amik to turn his hips enough. Very similar to the touchdown Amik gave up against the Bengals and Jamar Chase, except it's an outbreaking cut here by Egbuka, or a threat of it, I should say, and then he's going to take this route back up the left hash. It's a 3-deep, 3-under. And so as far as Whiteside goes up at the top, he's going to pass off this in-breaker. I would honestly kind of like to see him stick to this a little bit more. There's no other work for you on this particular formation. It's a 2-by-2 formation. 12 personnel, 1 tight end to the right, the bottom side of our screen right here, and then 1 tight end to the left for the Lions' perspective, I should say, the right side for the Bucs. So it's 12 personnel, 2-by-2 formation. I'd kind of like to see him stick to that route a little bit more heavy, but in any case, he's not targeted on the play. The target is Amik, who you can see he gets caught flat-footed here late on his turn, beat pretty badly by Egbuka, but the ball hits him in the back of the helmet, somewhere in this area. So Whiteside not targeted on the play. We'll get to some of his targets and his actual plays made on the ball here in a moment. Still on that same possession in the third quarter, early third quarter, in fact, and this is going to be mesh return. I'm going to diagram a typical version of mesh, just the bones of it, I should say. It's a 3rd and 3, like I said. So mesh would typically involve 2 underneath drags, one of them a low side drag, and perhaps the other a high side drag. Rail concept with the running back or one of the running backs. You got 2 guys set up here. I think this is actually Tez Johnson, a receiver set up in the backfield. But in any case, you get the idea. He's running out into the flats and then really carrying that route up the sideline, essentially clearing up this space that's up here to the top side, just outside of Whiteside's initial alignment. Now, that's not what's run here. This is actually mesh return, and it's a nice concept, I think, against the Lions' 3+1, their 2-man look, if you will. So Robertson is manned up against, I think it's Tez Johnson, like I said, lined up in the backfield here. And then Egbuka is being guarded by Whiteside. He's not targeted here. In fact, I think he is in pretty good coverage relationship. We're talking about right here. I'll come back to this in a moment. But there's a couple things going on here. First of all, Baker has this. I mean, Johnson releasing into the flats. He's got this. Robertson's trying to climb over the top of that, perhaps, to get to it. Like I said, it's a 3rd and 3, so you don't need a whole lot of yards in order to get the first down. But what I really think Baker's doing is trying to get Amik over there so he can come back to this mesh return route. So here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Shepard making it look like he's going to go across the field like I diagrammed a moment ago, and then he's going to bring this route back. It's a mesh return. It's against Arthur Millette, who played a good game, a solid game, don't get me wrong, but agility is not his strong point, ability to change direction, especially against a guy like Shepard. So it's a completion to Shepard. Like I said, on a 3rd and 3, I think he gets 5 yards. I'm going to pull this back and go over Whiteside against Egbuka. Whiteside right there, spot shadowed, again, lined up against Egbuka, the outside receiver. And so he's carrying this across, and you can see he tries to stay connected to his hip. There's a couple times Egbuka is able to get separation from him, but the range, the wingspan, in fact, I think he's got a 77-inch wingspan, so a little bit higher, a little bit wider range, if you will, coverage area than your typical average NFL corner. I think it's like 74, 75 in terms of a cornerback's average wingspan in the NFL. Whiteside and Harper are communicating up here, and what they're communicating or talking about is when this wide receiver, Tez Johnson, goes away in motion. So you can see those guys just communicating to each other. It ends up being a trip set or bunch, if you will, to the bottom side of the screen. Again, this is Whiteside up at the top, and he's only got a tight end to his side in terms of work. It's a 3rd and 14. Very disappointing play, if you ask me, for a number of reasons. I know I got a lot of colors here, so we'll move Tez Johnson route out of the way for a moment. So Egbuka is basically running this kind of like sail corner route from a typical split in terms of his width to the bottom side of our screen, the left-hand side of the Bucs offense. In cut by Shepard, or deeper in cut, and then this is the route that ends up being open. Essentially, you're talking about a shielded release for Tez Johnson. Because of the tunnel or funnel nature of the two releases here by Shepard and Egbuka, then he's going to go to the outside, he being Johnson. He's going to go to the outside, and basically this allows him to get a completely free release. And as such, on the other side, this is Whiteside. I think he did a really nice job communicating. All he's got is the tight end. So he feels comfortable in allowing Anzalone to handle that. And I think he's trying to communicate to Harper, the safety to his side, hey, you can focus to the trip side, the bunch side, in fact, where the 3 receivers are. I don't think that he would really be a part of helping this. I'm talking about Harper. But this is a video to focus on Whiteside. In my opinion, he fit well into the structure in terms of both pre-snap and post-snap communication. It's a disappointing situation for me. Maybe Millet's getting too wide. But it's, it's a 3rd and 13, so you kind of want to allow the catches to occur in front of you. I mean, if you're Jack Campbell and if you're Millet, Tez Johnson's got great agility. He's able to catch the ball immediately, put his foot in the ground, get downhill, make it 12 yards. I actually think he got even closer than that on a 3rd and 14. This is where Tampa Bay is going to go down and get to within 14-9. I'll show you the 2-point conversion from a Whiteside perspective. One of his, really, ultimately his 4 passes defensed on the night. Unfortunately, this one doesn't count because stats don't reflect on 2-point conversions. This is the aforementioned 2-point conversion. Whiteside up here at the top, and he's matched up with Cade Otton man-to-man. 11 personnel bunch to the bottom side, so all 3 receivers to the bottom side, or the left side for the Bucs offense, and the tight end to the top. Out motion by Shepard, so they've really tried to separate Shepard to the outside, and they're going to bring him underneath. Essentially what you've got is, in my opinion, a shield pick concept with 2 wide receivers, one of which is Egbuka matched up against Arthur Millet. I really wouldn't want that matchup from a Lions perspective in open field, meaning between the 30s. But down here in the red zone, feel a little bit more comfortable with it. Jack Campbell and Harper are both reacting to Baker Mayfield, looking in this direction. I'll pull this back just for a moment. So initially, Baker's looking to the downside of our screen, or the left-hand side for the Bucs offense, and both Jack Campbell and Harper are reacting heavy to this, and it really leaves Whiteside one-on-one back in the middle of the field. But it's mission accomplished if they ask me on a 2-point conversion. They're taking away the design of the route concept, which will be Shepard underneath. You also, in addition to that, have Egbuka on, a little fade out to the back corner of the end zone against Millet. Great play by Whiteside, obviously. This is the first time he's able to really, get an opportunity to make a play on the ball. Swatted it down. He came up clutch. Had this one, in addition to 2 against Egbuka late in the game that I'll show you near the conclusion of this video. Give you the end zone angle of this one. So a little bit of an organic 4-man rush in terms of the setup, even though you do have Barnes over here off the right side, which typically I would refer to as their 3+1 alignment. Again, this is the 2-point conversion once the Bucs have scored to get within 14-9. So you can see he's looking over here to the Lions' right-hand side where the 3 receivers are, right? Egbuka and Shepard, and then Shepard running underneath, I should say, from an outside leverage or outside alignment. Baker comes back to the middle. Great timing by Whiteside. He's got great range, and not just range of coverage area on the field, but his actual arm length to be able to swat down passes that maybe you don't expect him to. First of all, I think he's super aware in this game, played 40 snaps, but also got great confidence. He doesn't appear to panic when he's beat, when there's space or separation by the receiver, at least initially. Moving forward into the fourth quarter here, it's 21-9 in favor of Detroit. Again, Whiteside up at the top of the screen, once again matched up against Emeka Egbuka. It's off coverage, and this, I think, shows off that, number one, Whiteside's got good feet, great length and range that I talked about, but also you get an illustration of the difference in footwork between him and like a DJ Reed. This almost, to me, looks more so like Terrion Arnold in terms of his reaction, his agility, the quality of his feet in reacting to a route that kind of looks like a vertical at a certain point. And then Egbuka is going to try to snap this down and stop it. It's a 3 deep, 3 under from Detroit. Okay, so here's the 3 under. Second time that I've tried to describe this to you guys, and then there's the 3 deep. So some will call it fire blitz, zone blitz, whatever. They do a great job, I think, of blocking it up, they being Tampa Bay. So a little bit more rugged footwork than like a starting caliber outside corner in the NFL. It's a little bit more rounded, if you will, and takes his cleats a couple of times to tap into the ground, dig into the ground to get back on that. The throw is high. It's around a little bit more than 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter here. We'll give you the end zone angle of this one so you can see what I'm talking about. It's 12 personnel under center, so the 2 tight ends are spot shadowed here in like burgundy or orange, and this is like extremely popular in the NFL in 2025. I see it a lot with the Seahawks, and then in addition, Tampa Bay and Detroit. Basically 2 tight ends, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and going under center, play action to the running back trying to attack down the field. It's a stunt by the Lions, so they're walking or stemming Hutchinson down late and then trying to bring the safety. I think that's Hallett, who had 8 tackles, team high 8 tackles, in fact, and he gets handled pretty well by the tight end. I believe it's Othen. So it ends up really being a 5-man rush for Detroit. And Tampa Bay, to me, handles it pretty well, even though they've got 2 offensive linemen down on the ground. So Baker's delivering the ball. This is the one that could come back to Egbuka. Obviously, the throw is high, right? Don't get me wrong. But Whiteside does put himself in position to challenge these. Is it to the same effectiveness, the same sharpness, distinct cuts and reactions as a DJ Reed or an Amik Robertson? No, those guys have better feet than him. He's 6'1" or 6 foot 220. And in fact, when he was coming out, he didn't get to go to the combine, obviously being undrafted. I wouldn't expect him to be as agile as those guys, but what I will say is because of his wingspan and his awareness and really just desire, he was able to walk right into the lineup in the third quarter cold and match up with Egbuka. Whatever percentage you think Egbuka was at, I'm comfortable with. I really don't care. He was on the field, and Whiteside did a more than admirable job of matching up with him, at least on Monday night. All right, one of the many crazy situations that occurred in this game, not just from a refereeing standpoint, but from a gameplay perspective. So this is going to be the 3rd and 4 where Whiteside gets, I hope he's at least credited with one of his PDs because he definitely touches the ball. And the very next play after this, obviously, is the completion to Othen against Anzalone that ends up being ruled short upon review. So motion across by Egbuka, and I can't really draw this route accurately because of the width or the lack thereof, I should say the height from top to bottom on my screen because we're zoomed in somewhat. So it's really an out and up, all right? And Whiteside, there is going to be a little bit of separation vertically to this, but he's able to get his hands on the football. I think Baker right now is looking here at this safety, Harper, basically seeing if Harper hedged over a little bit further, then maybe Baker doesn't throw this route. So as this is occurring, this is the out portion of the route by Egbuka, and you can see that, maybe Whiteside starts to go with it, but I think he does a nice job with his feet here of not coming too far down and trying to undercut this. So basically, if it were an out and you're trying to undercut it, really go for an interception, play it super aggressively, then you're going to open yourself up to the up, the second portion of the out and up. I think it's a great job. Gets his hands up, actually does touch the ball. The margin for error here is smaller for Baker Mayfield, and I think it's because of Whiteside's length, because of his ability to turn and run with it, but he didn't come downhill. He stayed flat and, in fact, veered back a little bit on that initial out threat by Emeka Egbuka. End zone angles of the same play. This is Whiteside traveling across with Egbuka. So many times in this game, we all know that the tight end is set up to the right, and he's set up there to jam or chip, I should say, Aiden Hutchinson, and then release into the flats or over the middle. And that's what's going to occur on the next play here. You can see that in this case, he jams Hutchinson. Baker is looking to that side. The safety isn't, necessarily flowing over the top. He's a little flat here, perhaps, and then tries to get depth. Great job, if you ask me, of Whiteside, just staying with the play, creating a margin for error, a smaller one, by getting his hands on the football. I didn't think that he touched the ball initially, but upon review, or when they showed the replay, I should say, it was pretty obvious that he did, and I think that this view, the end zone angle, while only being 720p, my apologies for that, also kind of reveals it. 6 foot, 6'1", 200 pounds. I went back and looked at his draft profile leading into, I guess, 2023, and it listed him as an outside corner, obviously, but also that he had a secondary position option as a free safety, and I thought that was noteworthy because, he played the whole game, or he played this whole entire second half, I should say, at outside corner. Very next play, this is Whiteside matched up against Egbuka. Of course, this is the 4th and 4, where Cade Otton is going to catch the ball and be determined to be well short. This is the two-man. I refer to it as two-man just because of the setup. So 2 high safeties. They do this with Branch and Joseph a lot. Each iteration of this isn't actually two-man. I recognize that. Sometimes it's predetermined for one safety to move down and then the other safety to shift to center field. Sometimes they just stay here and react to the routes. Sometimes they double-team a particular wide receiver. They utilize that a whole lot against the Bengals 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just refer to it as two-man because of the pre-snap setup, the alignment, the look of it, and then the options that flow from it for Kelvin Sheppard. My apologies, had a little bit of tech difficulties there. Hopefully the audio and video didn't get out of sync too much. But in any case, like I said, this is the aforementioned 4th and 4 that, that's been covered ad nauseum. Again, tight end to the right. He's going to chip Aiden Hutchinson here and then release over the middle. I think that you got an opportunity to get Egbuka the ball here. Again, matched up against Whiteside. So we're talking about this route here over the middle, and to me it looks like Baker Mayfield is looking in that direction. This is a great design, in my opinion, from the Bucs standpoint against this coverage. And so what I think they're trying to get accomplished, and we know how the review ends up here from a Lions standpoint. He's ruled to be short, and in fact, I think that's correct. But out of this two-man alignment, all right, you got 2 safeties here. Out of this two-man alignment, what you're oftentimes getting is a route from one side of the field going underneath and then being taken over by the near side safety. I think what Tampa Bay is trying to do here, and it could be wrong, is I think they're trying to occupy this safety with the first route over the middle. So basically having him help out in coverage on Arthur Millette, or the guy that Arthur Millette is guarding. And then the secondary portion of that is Whiteside against the receiver running underneath, which I think I misidentified as Egbuka. It actually looks like it's Sheppard. Possibly an opportunity for Baker Mayfield to get him the ball. Does pressure play a role here? Absolutely. Forces Mayfield to kind of step up, throw the ball to Cade Otton, which was eventually ruled short. I love that two-man setup. I think Kelvin Sheppard is playing a different game than so many defensive coordinators across the NFL, and I think it benefited some of these guys, these backup corners, even Arthur Millette, slot, nickel DBs. I think it benefited them in this game because they had a little bit more help horizontally and at times vertically. Basically, the safeties were able to adjust to or adapt to the routes that showed up post-snap, excuse me. This one is a little unfortunate from a Whiteside perspective because I wish Baker was able to get this ball off cleanly. I think he'd have an opportunity to make a play. So it's a 3rd and 4. We're about halfway through the 4th quarter. The Lions have since extended their lead to 24-9 after the failed 4th and 4 play on the completion to Otton that I just showed you. Ball's on the left hash. They motion the running back into the backfield, and this is a cover 2 by the Lions. I love this version of cover 2 that they're playing. So you end up with, once again, all 3 receivers for the Bucs out of an 11 personnel group on one side of the field, and the Lions are setting up or showing their two-man. That leaves Anzalone backside man-to-man on the tight end, and they're dropping him out. as the flat corner, which is atypical. It's abnormal. In addition to that, this safety, Harper, motioned down pre-snap, like he was going to come up and either replace a second-level player and or possibly blitz or take over Cade Otton. This is cover 2, and Whiteside, I think, does a nice job here. In my opinion, Baker is trying to get the football to essentially this extended wheel by Tez Johnson. And I wish that he was able to get this throw off, because I think Whiteside is putting himself in position to possibly make a play on this. It's Tez Johnson that's running the wheel. We're talking about right here. Safety over the top in a cover 2. There's the second safety, Harper, who I identified and talked about, pre-snap motioning down. Baker is stepping up or forced to step up in the pocket. Again, it's because of Aiden Hutchinson. And then tries to throw the football to this route here. I believe that's where he's going with this ball, in fact. But in any case, he can't get enough on it because of the pressure by Hutchinson. It's about 7:20 left here in the fourth quarter. The Bucs actually get the conversion. And almost 3 minutes of gameplay later, you have the final 2 passes defensed for Whiteside in this game. I know that there was one more possession for Tampa Bay, but these will be the last 2 plays that I show you. And I think they just reflect, especially this one, on the range and the stick-to-itiveness that Whiteside displayed on Monday night. So it's a 2nd and 8, and he's matched up against Egbuka one more time. This is quite obviously a pick, rub, or a shield, and I'll rewind it to show you what I mean by that. But Anzalone's set up over the tight end. This clearly looks like their 2-man setup with 2 high safeties lined up and showing Baker Mayfield the look, but it actually doesn't end up being so. Anzalone goes on a blitz. Tight end once again redirects or chips Hutchinson. So I think what Detroit's trying to do is just take advantage of that. Basically get the tackle stepping out here to Hutchinson and clear that lane for Anzalone. It doesn't work that way. Let's talk about the pick. So here is Shepard, and that is Whiteside being screened, picked, whatever you want to call it, to allow Egbuka to get free. And I think Whiteside does a really nice job of staying underneath of this. There is some separation. Hopefully it's not too staccato or too irregular when I slow motion the film like that. But in any case, I think he does a nice job here. And of course, he does a great job of full extension getting the PD on a ball that's intended for Egbuka that, possibly in other scenarios could have ended up being a touchdown. If Baker was able to get more on it, he's kind of fading back when he delivers this football. Talking about Baker Mayfield here, kind of fading back as he throws the ball, so not able to get the ball out in front of Egbuka into the back of the end zone, perhaps as much as he would have liked. And it's a great pass defense for Whiteside. Officially, like I said, he only had 3, but we all know he actually had 4 on the night. One more play to illustrate the quality of what you got out of Whiteside in this game. I don't know where this leaves him on the roster once so many other guys come back, but man, exciting to see so many players, Whiteside, Millette, Hallett, Thomas Harper, all of those guys come out on the field and perform, execute, I should say, Detroit's defense to a T. Leaving very little openings for Tampa Bay. But in any case, here's Whiteside. This is going to be his final PD. Could have very well been an interception. But first time through, let's look at what Tampa Bay is doing. The lengths they're going to deal with Aiden Hutchinson over here. I don't know what percentage of the time he got chipped. Well, I know that on this play, he got chipped by 2 players, the tight end first and then the running back. You do that to great players, and Aiden Hutchinson, certainly is one. So this is Whiteside matched up against Egbuka, like I said. Safety Harper to his side is maybe just not identifying routes at all. It actually looks like he starts to, Harper starts to move in towards here. Maybe Baker must have looked in that direction for a moment. It's difficult for me to discern that from the end zone angle. But in any case, it almost looks like Whiteside is expecting some help from Harper, feeding that route in to the safety, if you will, but then he turns back to the outside, very aware, if you ask me, for a guy who only had 15 NFL snaps before the night. You can't really see it well. My apologies once again. It's only 720p resolution once I go through the video program that I utilize to show film. I definitely want something where I could click a button and zoom in, but maintain a high quality resolution. So I'm looking at other programs to use. My apologies if it's too grainy. We're obviously really zoomed out by design, right? For the NFL, it's the all 22, but it's a great PD. I'll give you the end zone angle, in fact, of this one. I said this in a video earlier this week to talk about Kelvin Shepherd. This wasn't just a statement made by Whiteside and many other guys, Millette, Rock Ya-Sin, Thomas Harper. This is a statement about the way Detroit does things. So if you're a UDFA player or you're a veteran who at this point, maybe doesn't have a shot or isn't on a roster in the league, like Arthur Millette as of October 8th before he signed in Detroit, this now looks like a place you want to come play because you think, A, you can get an opportunity at times. They trust you, and B, you can execute some of the things they're asking you to do. That basically they'll put you in position to succeed. Here is one of the safeties, and there's Harper, who I talked about a little earlier on, trying to break down this play. So I think that he possibly is reacting to this by Tez Johnson and or the possibility of Baker Mayfield shooting that ball over the middle. Not that he's going to really be able to defend it, being Harper. But here you go, elevating up top in front of Emeka Egbuka. Basically, Egbuka becomes the DB in this situation. Again, it's kind of grainy. I recognize that. Full extension. This is a great play, man. This guy played spectacular football. All of the DBs did, really, right? Shepherd put these guys in position to succeed. That's what a coach does. I'm jealous, man, for real, as a Ravens fan, when you get off to the start that we've gotten to this year, 1-5. There's so many excuses made. The one thing I don't hear the Detroit Lions coaches and players ever do, even dating back to 2024, is make up excuses. Or if they do, they don't verbalize them. They don't forward them. And that's one of the things that has bothered me to no end with the Ravens in 2025, and even to a lesser extent at times in 2024. Quick to make excuses, injuries, and quick to assign blame or deflect accountability. And I'm talking about the head coach, John Harbaugh. From the top down, at least from the head coach on down, Dan Campbell isn't interested in that. They don't make excuses. And in this case, they just put guy after guy after guy out on the field Monday night who the names weren't known by so many people. Some of these guys are players that we all saw play in the preseason, right? So that experience had to be invaluable at times. I think this is, and I've said this multiple times, this is a unique situation in pro sports. You're not allowed to win with so many backups on the field in a sport like football, right? There's zero ability to hide. And in this case, you're out there, 4 DBs are gone, missing for various reasons, right? Millette and Rock Ya-Sin, 2 veterans. They've been there. They've played a lot of snaps in the NFL. Rock's been there all year, but not Millette. He only signed, about 2 weeks ago at this point. Thomas Harper, Nick Whiteside, who we're focusing on tonight. Eric Hallett, who had 8 tackles, I think 6 solo. Both of those led the team. For me, when Rock goes out after the first half, I'm like, oh, this is not good. I'm glad the Lions have the lead, but I wish they'd been able to add more, tackle on more points in the second quarter. Those, it seemed ominous to me. I think I maybe even used that word in the Lions Discord. So if you're in my Lions Discord and you didn't like that, I'm sorry, but that's just how I perceived it. I thought to myself, Rock's playing really well. Live, I thought he played, great. Watching the film, he played even better than that. He goes out. It's like, how far down the depth chart can you go and still maintain integrity? Zero excuses. Kelvin Shepherd and Dan Campbell, they did a fantastic job, man. It cannot be said enough. Nick Whiteside steps right in. I think he plays 40 snaps on defense, all in the second half, if I saw it right. Meaning, when I looked up his plays when he was on the field Monday night, it was all special teams in the first half. Defense was in the second half, and I may have that wrong. Prior to Monday night, he had only played 15 snaps on defense in the NFL in a regular season situation. It was late 2023 with Washington. None last year. He's a guy from Saginaw Valley State. I think Nowaski as well. Just a rare storyline in this one. Well, I say that. It's really the same, very, very similar as the Detroit Lions defense did late in 2024, right? With so many starters out on defense. What makes this one different for me is 2 things. Number one, it was against a 5-1 team. in Tampa Bay with a certified MVP candidate in Baker Mayfield coming into the game at least, right? And then in addition, Whiteside was a backup even on Monday night. Rock was the starter and played superb defense in man and zone. I know he picked up a DPI against Mike Evans, difficult matchup. Those two elements or those two factors, who they were playing, Tampa Bay, 5-1, Baker Mayfield just rolling on offense. And then the fact that Whiteside started this game began this game, I should say, as a backup and came in and played spectacular in the second half. Perhaps I missed some plays in the first half. You're more than welcome to let me know if he actually did get on the field a couple of times or even more so, but I didn't see it based on the research I had. This was a unique game. Fun to watch, but shocking, even more shocking the further the game went on. Because I don't know about you, how many snaps they were on the field in the second half. After that second quarter situation, which I already described as ominous, I found myself thinking, not only how far down the depth chart can they go, but how long can this defense hold up? Now, after watching the film, you kind of get the sense that they could have played another quarter and someone else would step up, or Nick Whiteside would make a play, or Arthur Millette. Just an amazing effort, if you ask me, defensively all the way around, and one that I hope the film studies I've done, at least so far this week, do some level of justice to what Kelvin Shepard, Rock Ya-Sin, Arthur Millette, Amik Robertson, Nick Whiteside, and others, what they were able to go out and do on Monday night to get a win and move to 5-2 against a really solid and physical, tough, rugged football team in the Tampa Bay Bucs. I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed the video, first of all, please let me know in the comment section. Likes and comments help the video. It helps drive engagement. And, man, the last 2.5 weeks have been really rough sometimes to get motivated to do these videos because there's just really nothing happening. We're looking at about 40 to 50% of engagement, interaction, and views as what I would consider normal for this part of the season. So if you have any inclination at all to help my videos get a larger audience, get exposed to a larger audience, like and or comment, first of all. Second of all, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media if you'd like other Lions fans to be able to see this as well. Appreciate you guys' time.